So, hello everybody, welcome to this live session where I'm going to talk about this topic. Why does a change in weather affect our symptoms? Why is it that some people with ME, CFS, fibromyalgia, long COVID and related conditions are really sensitive to changes in weather? Someone asked a question about this, saying that they're very affected by the shift from summer into autumn, and they wanted to know what they can do about it. They saying that it causes a huge flare-up in symptoms, feels like flu, nausea, more fatigue, and it lasts until March, April. So obviously that's if you're in the Western Hemisphere. If you're currently experiencing summer, I'm very jealous. It's just started getting very cold here. So if you are watching live, do let me know you can see me, that you can hear me. If you're watching replay, just put #replay. So first of all, sorry to this person if that's your experience. So in this live session, I will talk about factors that can make you more vulnerable to weather changes. And I'll share 6 strategies to help you become more resilient. So if you do have ME, CFS, fibromyalgia, long COVID, and related conditions, then let me know in the chat whether you're more affected by the cold, more affected by the hot weather, or both. I will focus more on cold in this session, but if being in heat is an issue, just consider some of the strategies that I'm sharing because they will be relevant to you and your situation. So if you just joined, do say hello in the chat. If you don't know me, my name's Simon Pimenta. I had ME, CFS, fibromyalgia for 8-9 years, and I didn't work for that time. At one point, I couldn't walk for 1 minute, and I did get back to working full time, living an active life. Been to a couple of festivals this summer, which was amazing. So I now share lots of free content, free videos, resources. So do follow me if you're watching on channels, and check out, if you're on YouTube, check out my YouTube playlist where I cover a lot of topics. So let's get straight into this topic. How seasonal changes can result in symptoms if you have ME, CFS. I'll use the term ME, CFS, but I am talking about all those conditions that I've mentioned. So a seasonal flare-up of ME, CFS symptoms can stem from several interconnected factors. So the first possible cause is relating to our immune system. Many people with ME, CFS have a dysregulated immune system. Consider that a healthy person's immune system is able to adapt more easily to changes in temperature. But as the seasons change, your immune system may have difficulty in adapting to temperature and pressure changes, triggering flu-like symptoms, fatigue. I notice still that when the weather changes, I can just kind of feel it in my bones. My body doesn't really like it. I was born in a hot country. But, some of the tips I'm about to share make me think, oh, maybe there is a little bit more work I've got to do in terms of some of the issues I'm going to talk about. So the second factor is environmental stress. So weather changes, as I've just said, can physically and mentally put demands on your body, which is already compromised if you've got a health challenge. So pressure shifts, colder temperatures, less sunlight might make your body work harder to maintain equilibrium. And when the body's already dealing with the health challenge, it just results in more fatigue and malaise. Third thing is that it can cause hormonal changes. Seasonal changes can influence hormones like cortisol and melatonin, which play an important role in the stress response and sleep regulation. So an imbalance could heighten fatigue and sleep issues. Let me know if sleep changes during the winter months. I've had clients who, when the clocks changed, for instance, it affected their sleep. One client in particular used to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, regardless of whether the clocks went forward or backwards. And actually we did some work, we had a few sessions together, and she stopped waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. But that's kind of fascinating example of the power of the mind, because you would have thought if the clocks went forward she might wake up at a certain time, but it would be a different time if the clocks went backwards. So the fourth thing is stress sensitivity. Stress might amplify the body's sensitivity to environmental changes. Now, you may have heard me talk about this before, that stress can be acute physical, for instance, being exposed to a virus, chronic physical, having an ongoing health challenge, and the third one is psychological stress. So it's really important to consider whether psychological stress is a factor. When we're already fatigued or experiencing symptoms, as I've already said, sudden changes like cold, rainy weather could trigger a stronger stress reaction. So, if someone's thinking, oh, if I'm out in the cold, then it's going to affect me, I'm going to have a setback, that worry is going to create stress in our system, which makes us more sensitive. And certainly that was something that I was aware of when I had ME/CFS. So I want to share 6 strategies for helping your body deal with these challenges more effectively. So, first strategy, well, actually before we dive into it, the first thing I want to say is consider that it's really important that we don't overlook practical strategies. I've worked with people who are very practical, very down to earth, very grounded, and I've worked with people who recognise themselves that they're less practical. They're not so grounded. So the first tip may seem super obvious, which is to stay warm and comfortable. But I have worked with people who've overlooked it. They're disconnected from their body, so they're not so good at taking care of themselves in terms of keeping their body temperature at an optimal level. Consider that certain animals hibernate in winter, and our ancestors would be focusing on conserving energy in winter, in the cold months, sitting by the fire, sitting in the cave, eating to put on weight and improving their insulation, i.e. their fat stores. So make sure you have got warm clothing. I have literally worked with clients and I say to them, have you got a big thick woolly jumper? And they say no, and all the clothing they've got is kind of thin, and it's like, I'm not surprised you're feeling cold. And I often ask people, feel your hands, are they warm, are they cold? My hands, are warm in winter because I wear lots of layers and keep myself warm. Okay, you might even see me on a live wearing a hat because I'm a little bit scarce on the top. And hair is insulation. All right, so make sure you've got, I was chatting with someone earlier today who was saying they've got a weighted blanket, which they find, really comforting, but it also helps keep their blankets on them or their duvet on them at night. So make sure you're adequately dressed. Something I learned when I was a Cub Scout is we lose 1/3 of our body heat through our head and 1/3 of our body heat through our feet. So some people don't wear socks, and that's your choice, but it does mean, in winter, if you're walking around in flip-flops in the house and it's cold, you're losing a lot of heat. Okay? So these strategies, although simple practical strategies, can mitigate the physical discomfort caused by the seasonal changes. Make sure you're having hot drinks. I've created a little cheat sheet on herbs and spices that can help boost our circulation and immune system. If you'd like that cheat sheet, then I'm going to post it in the file section of my Facebook group. So if you'd like it, join my Facebook group and access that and other resources. Okay. If you would like that, just put a comment in the chat, maybe put H and S for herbs and spices, and that will prompt me to actually share that. So, second strategy is light therapy. Some people swear by using red light therapy to help stabilize circadian rhythms, improve mood and energy levels. It's not something I've used, but I remember having chats with Dr. Eleanor Stein, who's a medical doctor, and she's also very knowledgeable about ME/CFS because she had it herself, and she talks about using red light therapy. Because, in the shorter days we're getting less sunlight. Third strategy is to consider immune support. Make sure your diet is nutrient rich. Stay hydrated. If necessary, consider consulting a health provider about supplements and therapies that support your immune system. Consider, do you have an immune system regimen? So, for instance, in winter, I take vitamin D. I take a mushroom complex, which is good for the immune system. I take vitamin C. I take multivitamins. Sometimes I take a product called Immune Intensive, which helps boost your immunity, especially if you're feeling a bit fluey, etc. Fourth strategy is ensure that you're getting your rest and your sleep dialed in. I know when I'm tired, my body's less good at dealing with the cold. So get your sleep routine sorted. Consider that in evolutionary terms, our ancestors went to bed early and got up early. Okay, with the advent of electricity and lights, we've kind of overridden those natural rhythms that we would have followed. Consider having a siesta when needed. When I had ME/CFS to begin with, I was having siestas actually in the morning and the afternoon. As I got better, I shrunk that down, but I would have a siesta in the afternoon. And sometimes if I'm feeling a little bit poorly, I'll still do that now, and I'll have a sleep for about half an hour. Make sure if you do have siestas, it's not too late in the afternoon. I've read some research that suggests between 1 and 3 o'clock is good. After 4 p.m. can interfere with sleep. Ideally 30 minutes or less, according to sleep experts. But at one point, I was just letting my body have the sleep it needed. Okay. So just make sure you are prioritising sleep and rest when you need it, especially as the weather starts to change. I know that, especially in winter, my body really thanks me for going to bed early. My goal is 10 p.m. Don't always achieve it, but sometimes when I've gone to bed at 9:30 p.m, it feels really nurturing and blissful. And I know if I do that for a few nights, I wake up feeling much more refreshed. Okay. Consider that if you do overexert, it can just exacerbate the flares. So it's really important to listen to your body when you're doing activities and not overriding, not being driven by your perfectionism or overachiever patterns, but learn to listen to your body, pause when you need to. Your emotional brain sends signals when it feels like it needs change, when it's getting a bit bored. Okay, so listen to your emotional brain. So you can track your activity to identify potential triggers. I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. Strategy 5, and I think this is really important, is to consider your stress levels. Now, I have created a free training called the Audit Training, so check that out. It'll give you some insights into factors that might be influencing your stress. If you'd like access to that, comment audit below. So consider that mind-body strategies such as brain training, meditation, mindfulness can be ways of helping you become more aware of your stresses and reduce them. Doing emotional work, our emotions can really drive and affect our physiology. Inner child work, when I work with people, I teach people how to take care of the part of them that is fearful at times. And by doing that, I teach them a particular strategy, and 99 times out of 100 people say, oh, I feel more calm, I feel more relaxed, I feel more at peace. And I've been teaching people an approach called the mind-body reconnect. And the people I've worked with have said this is super helpful. It's really helping me recognize when I'm not meeting my needs. And consider that when we don't meet our needs, our emotional brain starts sending us signals, firstly emotions, and if we don't listen, it'll start sending symptoms. Okay, so we can also use body-mind techniques. So using our body to influence our physiology and our mind. That might be gentle yoga, qigong. I have made a video where I share a really simple qigong practice, and when I had ME/CFS I would do it for literally 1 minute a few times a day when I was really poorly, and it made a difference. So check out my YouTube channel to find that qigong video. And I've also made a video where I talk about gentle stretching. That's in the movement playlist, so check that out. And all these strategies can help keep your stress levels in check. Someone's given me a like, thanks very much for that. The more we can reduce our base level stress, your body can become less reactive to seasonal shifts. And it's really important not to overlook the small things, the small shifts we can do. So for example, sometimes when I'm going out, I still notice that I'm rushing, okay, and that I could improve my time management. I went out yesterday and I kind of ran for the bus because I knew I'd cut it a bit fine. I did manage to get the train, but I could have avoided that. The exercise is fine, but if I'm doing it in a stressy way, that's not so good. So there are all these little stresses that actually cumulatively can add up. So it is important to address even the small stresses. So as I say, if you manage to when you reduce your stress levels, your body can be less reactive. And that was certainly my experience. When I had ME/CFS, fibromyalgia, my body was incredibly sensitive to the cold. Just being outside, saying goodbye to someone for a few minutes would leave me with chills, feeling feverish for days at times. And as I reduced my stress levels, I became less sensitive to cold. Sixth thing to consider is expectations. All right. Now, this might not be relevant to everybody, but I like to take a no stone unturned approach. So there's a book by David Robson called The Expectation Effect. And in that book, he talks about how our expectations, both conscious and subconscious, can significantly influence our physical and mental health. So there are all sorts of examples of this. I've talked about the placebo effect. This is the effect produced by the power of our belief. People subconsciously believe that a tablet will help them, and even if it's inert, it shows beneficial effects. So when applied to ME/CFS, this concept suggests that if someone expects their symptoms to worsen during seasonal changes, this expectation may contribute or intensify the flare-ups. Now, I have made a video where I explore the expectation effect in more detail. So do check out that video, okay? And if you would like just a kind of summary of some of the core tips, then let me know. I could create a PDF, which again, I'll pop in the Facebook group. So let me pause there. I don't see any comments in the chat. Do let me know if you're more sensitive to hot, or when the temperature is hot in the summer, or whether you're sensitive to cold, or whether it's both. I'd love to know what your takeaway is from what I've shared. Is there a particular strategy that you think would be useful to you? Let me know in the chat. As I say, if you'd like the audit training, comment audit below. Actually, I'll put a comment in the chats just so I know that it is working. Yep, it is. So if you'd like that herbs and spices cheat sheet, then as I say, join my Facebook group. If you like more tips, feel free to join my Facebook group. Anyway, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube and hit the notification button. You'll be notified when I release more content. Now, as I say, I create lots of free resources, so do check them out. But if you do want help now, if you want to go faster, I'm happy to have a free chat with you and explore what you need. If you've got any questions, feel free to get in touch. There are no daft questions. Your question might help someone else. It might spur me to create some content that might help others. So thanks everybody for watching. If you've got any questions, I say get in touch. Dare to dream. If you'd like to end with a very short relaxation, let me know. Pop a yes in the chat. If I don't get any responses, I will finish now. Okay, I'm not getting any responses, so maybe we'll pause there. But consider that you can just take a pause anytime you want, just to connect with your body, connect with your breath. If you, for instance, if you notice you're thinking about seasonal changes and getting a little bit stressed, take a pause, breathe. Just give yourself a message of safety. For instance, I'm safe. I can develop strategies to help me navigate this changing season more effectively. Little bonus tip, keep a journal and identify, make a note of what has had a negative effect on your energy and notice what's had a positive effect on your energy. This can help you identify patterns and help you prepare better for these seasonal changes. So, thanks everybody for watching. Keep going. You've got this. Wishing you great health. Bye for now.